Angular measure. Up to this point, you have always measured angles as degrees, 60 degrees, 120 degrees, 3,478 degrees. Doesn't matter. Always in degrees. There's another way to measure angles. Okay, and we're going to use them in this, and especially if you take calculus, because it simplifies a lot of expressions. All right, and it's called radians or rads. So we're going to skip that first bit. The radian measure of an angle. I will never ask you this ever again, but this is the definition of a radian, a rad. It is the length of the arc forming the angle divided by the length of the radius, i.e. it's the arc length over the radius. So if this is your circle, there's your angle there. This is your arc length. And this, as you all remember from whatever grade, is the radius. If you divide those two things, you get the measure of the angle in rads, because it's just a ratio, okay? If the radius increases, the arc length increases as well, but it's just a ratio. So I'm not going to ask you that, okay? So I'm not going to ask you, what's the definition of a radian? What I will expect is that you know certain radians. So we're going to go over to the next page. We're going to go through this. I think it is useful, but then we're going to summarize it at the bottom. So if you have a circle, you go all the way around in a circle. How many degrees is that? 360 degrees. Arc length. So if you measure the distance all the way around a circle, does anybody know what that's called? The distance around the outside of a circle. Circumference. Who said it? Perfect. Circumference. I think you're thinking of diameter. Yeah. Okay. So circumference is all the distance around the outside of a circle. Does anybody know what the formula for circumference is? Something pi. That's area. Sorry? 2 pi r. Yes. You're getting circle stuff. That's good. At least you didn't say 1/2 base times the height. What's that? Ooh. Okay. So, which is the circumference of a circle? The circumference. There you go. Circumference of a circle. All right. So we said on the previous page, the ratio of arc length to radius, which is rads. So if the arc length is the circumference and the all the way around is 2 pi r, what happens to the r's? They cancel out. So one complete rotation of the circle in rads is 2 pi. Therefore, 2 pi has to be the same as 360 degrees. So 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi rads. Same thing. If we know that, we can do everything else off of that. So we're not going to worry about all this stuff. We're going to go down to the bottom here, and in this little tiny space off to the side here, we're going to come up with everything that you need to know. So if I said 2 pi is equal to 360 degrees, right? What would be the natural next one that you would say? What's half of 2 pi? I didn't ask what half of 360 is. I asked what's half of 2 pi? Pi, right? So what does pi equal? 180. That's what Mr. Late just told us a while ago. All right. Well, let's do half of pi. That would be pi over 2, right? What does that equal? 90, because it's half of 180. What's half of pi over 2? Pi over 4, which would be equivalent to half of 90, which is 45. It's pi over 3. 60 degrees, because pi is 180, so it's pi divided by 3, so 180 divided by 3 is 60. Pi over 6 would be 30 degrees. Pi is 180. If you remember that, you can do every single one. Those are, is that all of them? Those are the common ones that normally I'd be like, you need to know these, but you guys have a cheat sheet so you can write them down. But we're going to use these quite often. So when I say pi over 4, it should click in your mind, oh, that's 45 degrees. Pi over 2 is 90. Right? We're going to use it a lot. What about, so those are the common ones. I'm going to write know them, but you do have a study guide. What if I said this? 2 pi over 3. 120, because what's pi over 3? 60. I have 2 of them. Therefore, I have 120. Is that okay? All right. So pi is equal to 180. If you're converting from degrees to radians, because they're not all nice angles, sometimes you have decimals and stuff, so you actually have to do a conversion. You multiply by pi over 180. And if you're going from rads to degrees, you multiply by 180 over pi. So we're going to practice that a bit on the next page. When you're ready. All right. What are you two doing? All right. So we're going to go from degrees to rads. 270 degrees. How do I convert that to rads? Previous page. If you're going from degrees to rads, you multiply by pi over 180. So you just go 270 times pi over 180. Leave the pi there. Don't actually multiply that in. And just simplify the fraction 270 over 180. You can cross the zeros out. This is 27 over 18 pi. What goes into 27 and what goes into 18? 9. 9 goes into 27 3 times. And 9 goes into 18 twice. So it's actually 3 pi over 2. The other way, when you get good at this, when you do it quite often, is you'll look at 270 and you'll go, hopefully, you go, well, 270, if I multiply 90 times 3, I get 270, right? Everybody agree with that? So I just put 3 in front of the pi over 2, and you get 3 pi over 2. So here's the question. 315 degrees. 315 is a multiple of which one of these? It's got a 5 at the end of it, so 45. How many 45-degree angles are there in 315? Sorry? 7. So you could write 7 pi over 4. That is the actual answer. Now, that's obviously, we've learned it for like 3 minutes, so I don't expect you to do that. The other way is just go 315 times pi over 180, and you'll get that back. Okay. All right. Now, you can also write rads instead of in terms of pi, like all these things here. You can write them as decimals because pi is a number. So if I asked you to convert 70 degrees into radians to the nearest tenth, you'd multiply by pi over 180. And on your calculator, you hit the pi button. You go 70 times pi, 3.14159, blah, 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 and divide by 180. Please tell me what the answer is. To the nearest tenth, so the first decimal. $1.2? Is that what we got? All right. 205, please do that one. $3.6. Okay, perfect. Okay, convert to degrees. Now we're given rads. We want to go to degrees. Power 4, that's one of the common ones. That is, look on your previous page, 45 degrees. Negative 7 pi over 3. Pi over 3 is from the previous page. What's pi over 3? 60. How many 60-degree angles do I have? I got 7 of them. So it's equal to negative 420 degrees. And then the last bit, 1.57 rads. We want to go to degrees. So we're going to multiply that by 180 divided by pi. So 1.57 times 180, divide by the pi button on your calculator. Please tell me the answer. And do the next one as well. What's the first one? 90? Second one, negative 80? All right. Here's what I would like you to do for 2 to 4, please. That's it.